Hello, Nimbin.
Yeah, I should probably introduce you guys. Matt and Abe are running a tour business in Colorado, plus a few other very important things as well, part of that business. And I guess they're here to share with us some of the positives and negatives of the recreational cannabis scene there, and to fill us in on what we may look forward to in the future.
That's right. We come with good news from Colorado. Legalized cannabis is a success, for sure. Medical cannabis is a success in Colorado as well. We're going to focus on recreational marijuana today. We're going to do an hour tomorrow with medicine making. Also, we do workshops with our company. So today's recreational, tomorrow's medical, two very relevant subjects. We have a company called High Country Cannabis Tours. Talking about regulations, guess how many regulations we have? It's a beautiful thing. We offer tours, obviously. One tour that we offer is an elected official tour, which we dedicate our time. If any elected official anywhere around the world wants to come in and learn about recreational legalized cannabis, we dedicate our time to educate them. We feel that education is definitely the way to go in this. We have a walking tour in downtown Denver, and we also have a limousine luxury tour as well, so it gets fun, let me tell you. We do workshops as well. We do cooking with cannabis. We teach people how to infuse butter. And then, we teach them the fundamental skills of these medicine-making techniques. Therefore, they can take them back, and just as any artist does, they can kind of create their own style with it and, have a blast with it, really. These techniques are super simple, super safe. You can do it in a residential home, no problem. We offer a salve and tincture workshop as well, hash oil processing with food-grade solvents, and an e-juice. So you can walk down the street and no one will know you're puffing down. You just throw a little bit of e-juice in your vaporizer and you're good to go. I just got over to Europe that way. Just enjoying myself. So that's kind of the scenario that we found ourselves in. We were medical caregivers before we jumped into the recreational side of things. Recreational started in 2014, so we're only, about 15, 16 months into this. Have we figured it all out yet? No. Are we working on it? Yes. I think that Colorado is doing a pretty good job at this point. So Matt has a bunch of statistics here for you guys, and this is the beautiful thing about this, is that we have a year under our belt in Colorado, and the statistics that we're going to talk about today are very real. No one can argue these statistics. They came from the state, and they're very inspiring. So as we talk to other policymakers all over the world, I think that we have a very valid case. So we're going to share some of these statistics with you today. Yeah.
I'll take you through a little history of our struggle for legal cannabis in Colorado. In November 2000, we passed an amendment legalizing medical cannabis, 53% of the electorate voting in favor. And over the course of the next 8 years, that's how long it took for us to finally start seeing dispensaries pop up in Colorado. So that was pretty fun going into this dispensaries for the first time. And actually, I worked for a mortgage company. The mortgage company went bust in the credit crisis of 2008, and the same building opened up as our local dispensary a year later. So that's where we were buying all our herb. In 2012, we finally were the first state to legalize recreational cannabis. And that was a presidential election, and we had the biggest turnout I think we've had, and that was at 68.55%. So not a huge turnout, and definitely there's a margin of victory there either way, but we passed it 55%. And as soon as we passed it, we allowed local municipalities and counties to outlaw it. And Colorado's a very purple state. There's enclaves of liberal areas and a lot of rural conservative areas. And these rural conservative areas were not happy about having a black president. I really kind of thought America was over a lot of its past, but boy, it got really racist there, especially when Barack Obama won his second term. Right along, shortly after that election, local municipalities started outlawing it, and to the point where about 75% of Colorado, more or less, you cannot get recreational herb. It's been outlawed there.
And medicinal.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, 2010, they started closing down a lot of medicinal shops. So there were medicinal dispensaries all throughout the state, and they were told to close their doors. And sorry, Charlie, they were done. So that means that because of that local veto option, Colorado's missing out on a lot of its tax revenue. As a matter of fact, we fell way short of the expectations, not just because of that, but also because we tax it at 28% altogether. So that's something I'll get back to, but I want to encourage y'all, as you're pushing for the legalization in Australia, don't try to overtax it, because guess what? We already have a black market that functions, and everyone will go right back to that black market. Now, it is an expression of an exercise of your freedom to actually go into the dispensaries. And a lot of our tour business is based on this. People are coming from all corners of the world to exercise their right, and they're loving it. They love to go into a dispensary and spend money, even if it is more money than they would spend. But, you know, the high tax rate combined with the local moratoriums on access means that we still have a very much a thriving black market. And we cleared about 70 million in between recreational and recreational medical herb in taxes, but it was quite short of what they expected. So that's just something to keep in mind. The last case I'm going to talk about with our legalization struggle is in April 2013, the Colorado Court of Appeals held in a case that since marijuana remains against federal law, employers can use that standard rather than state law as a rationale for banning off-the-job worker use, even when it's a medical thing. This case involved a guy who worked for a big internet provider, and right in 2010, when they were shutting down medical dispensaries, he was asked to take a random drug test. He let his boss know that he was an MMJ patient. They said, that doesn't matter. We can fire you for that, and and they said, that's just a state law. We're using a federal law as the standard. Here's a little nuance of this story. Brandon Coates was 16 years old when he was in a car with somebody else driving, and they sent him through a windshield, and he's paralyzed over 80% of his body. Well, the Court of Appeals found that that he was not protected under the medical marijuana law, and now he's moving to petition the Colorado Supreme Court. So we still have a long way to go. There's discrimination is fully legal against patients and against anybody that's exercising what you would think is their new liberty. Let's see. Now, currently, what it looks like in Colorado is kind of a mixed bag of liberty, and in some ways you might think it's not legal at all. For instance, there's no place to smoke in downtown Denver. So,
Except for our condominiums.
yeah, high country cannabis. Yeah, so that nuance did create an opportunity for us. You can smoke on a tour, and you can smoke in a private residence. So we manage all these private vacation residences, and people are coming from all over, and especially the east coast of the United States. It's a little more draconian over there in terms of cannabis laws and people getting arrested for cannabis use. So Texas is our #1 state. It's a really,
Who would have known, huh?
right? The people from the deep south, they're very repressive states, you know. Sodomy was illegal in Texas till just like 10 years ago, something like that. So, these are places where people are used to keeping their personal life completely in the closet. And for them, coming to Colorado is nothing less than a spiritual experience. So we're loving seeing them, and we'll welcome you all when you get out there. But I have a feeling that legalization might be coming to you guys sooner than you know. Yeah, I know, but this is a very strong community in terms of ganja warriors, and I think you need to give yourself that victory, because if Colorado had what you guys have, I think that we would be a lot better off in terms of, for instance, the Brandon Coates decision, and others where discrimination's been legitimized in Colorado. Another strange stigma going on is that in the program I'm billed as Matt Appleseed, not my real name, but if a bank finds out that I'm even remotely connected to a cannabis industry, they'll freeze all my personal accounts. And not to mention any landlords can discriminate against me. That's just okay. Another strange thing about our law, and I would like you to be conscious of this going forward with your struggle, is testing facilities are not allowed to test the medicine from a caregiver or from a person growing their own pot or making their own edibles or topicals. So when they made the law, they allowed you to grow 6 plants recreationally. I think that what happened is that we came out with a very liberal model of legalization, allowing people to grow. Washington doesn't allow you to grow recreational plants. So belatedly, they started trying to figure out how to commodify, get everyone to participate in a retail economy. And so they went to, at first they were letting testing facilities test our products. And then all of a sudden all the testing facilities said, nope, we're not talking to you anymore. So be conscious of that potential pitfall, because once normal people don't have access to that information, your product is in that way compromised. You can't throw statistics of your cannabinoids and so forth on. You're not allowed to know exactly what that is.
Who's coming to see us? That's a question. And we were really, starting this company up was an entrepreneur's dream come true and nightmare all at the same time. This had never been done before. And so it was pure speculation what was going on. We thought people were going to want tours. We thought people were going to want to take these workshops and stay in these condominiums that we provide. We provide these great condominiums that have a bong set up and a dab rig and an e-nail and a bowl. And we promote private, safe consumption at that point. I mean, look around the room. There's a wide range of demographics sitting here, for example, and that's what we're getting. We're getting 21-year-olds, for example. We're getting people trying to come in that are under 21. We got to turn them away. We just gave a weed etiquette class to a 70-year-old lady who had never smoked cannabis before in her entire life, and her 3 daughters were with her. And so her daughter bought her this present of a cannabis tour and a weed etiquette class for her 70th birthday. Taught her how to roll a joint, hit a bong, make some medicine. It was pretty neat. There is no boundary with this, which is a beautiful thing. I mean, when the United States is divided these days over religious views and political views and any other view you want to complain about, cannabis is kind of a neat thing because everyone has this topic to come together on. And so, as these people come in, we really do. We ask them, we're like, who are you? Why did you travel so far to come and visit us and to come experience this culture? Dude, we get all kinds of crazy answers. I mean, we've had medical doctors come in, numerous medical doctors come in and take our workshops, for example. And then we have the whole other side of the spectrum to where people have cancer and they're literally like, this is my last chance, man. And so this is it's a heavy subject at this point. We really do have to take this seriously. People just want to get out to Denver for a weekend with their boyfriend or girlfriend and want to have a great time. So we're seeing all people that are very interested in the tours or the industry. They take these tours asking mad questions about, how can I get in on the East Coast when this goes legal in my state? One rule of thumb I give them, take any working business model and add cannabis to it, you can charge 20% more. It's a beautiful thing. Real estate, for example, commercial real estate in Denver right now, if you have a cannabis-friendly piece of commercial real estate, they're getting close to 20 to 25% more for their square footage. I mean, that's just one example of what's going on right now. So the dispensaries and the retail shops, they're big money makers, but there are all these other shoots off of the industry that are sprouting entrepreneurship in Colorado, and that's something that is kind of unheard of in the United States today and some of the other states. So it's inspiring.
And it's not just, it's also not people just that use cannabis that are coming. I mean, there's we see a lot of people that don't smoke at all, and they're looking for topical treatments for whatever, skin conditions, mostly inflammatory skin conditions or joint pain. There's also, as an example, there's a restaurant that I'm sure is going to become a chain throughout the United States in downtown Denver called Sheba Hut. And it's just sandwiches with a ganja theme. There's nothing infused about it, but it is so popular because people, regardless of whether they're stoners or not, view cannabis as something genuine and something that they want to be a part of. And so there's kids running around Sheba Hut with their parents, and there's people in suits, you know, the oil and gas people that work in downtown. So cannabis is not just for cannabis aficionados.
No, the straight facts are homicide rates are down, crime rates are down, domestic violence rates are down, alcohol-related deaths are down, pharmaceutical-related deaths are down. I mean, I could just go on and on. Matt has some of the statistics right here, black and white statistics, why we really feel that we have a very valid argument at this point to present to some of the policymakers. Because, most of you guys, we're basically preaching to the choir here, and what we need to do is we need to touch the policymakers and the law enforcement and really try to change their mind on things. And so we've been effective at that, really, from a personal point of view. But Matt, get into some of these statistics real quick, man.
Before I do, though, that is a huge thing is as you guys go forward, this speaks to your strength as a community. Talk to those people that you need to change their mind. The cops, for instance, today with the protest out front of the police station, I thought that was awesome. I could see in the lady who came out and spoke for a minute about not getting swept away by the river. I could see that she didn't feel threatened, and that's what we need to do. These people are cops, for instance. We've been asking a lot of cops in Denver about their feelings on their jobs post ganja liberalization, and they've been very, it seems like just the act of asking them about their feelings opens up their mind quite a bit and gets them to think of us as people. And when they think of you as people and they see your concerns, you have a really good chance of changing their mind, and you have a lot of minds to change here in Australia.
Yeah, the number one response we've gotten from about 20 police officers in Denver right now is, we ask them, has the quality of your job gone up or down since the legalization of cannabis? And they tell us that it hasn't changed, which is a good answer, really. Columbus did not drop off the edge of the earth here, He actually found a new world. And that's what we're practicing right now over there. The amount of enthusiasm coming into Colorado right now, the amount of passion coming into Colorado right now is very inspiring. Crime rate was down, 13% this year? Is that right?
There's a lot of, I don't know if I've got that particular one, but let's see. Let me give you another contextual feel for this year in Colorado is when oil and gas, Denver's very much an oil and gas town. And actually, I'm from that industry, from Western Colorado. And if you have a job in Western Colorado, you probably work in mining. And that's where I came from, punching holes in the earth. Wasn't oil and gas, now I'm a hash oil and grass. And it couldn't have been a better time, because right when we had our tiff with Putin, oil dropped to about $50 a barrel, and the entire oil and gas sector in Denver went kaput. There's a ton of people out of work. So all the economic forecasts are taking this into account and saying, oh my God, look out for unemployment, it's going to skyrocket. The governor's office, who makes these economic forecasts, will not make one mention of the cannabis industry as being a mitigating factor in our unemployment trends, because accompanying this oil and gas collapse in Denver was 4,900 new jobs added in statewide and between December and January of this year. Our unemployment's at 4.2%, and nationwide it went up to 5.7%. all these stats are going to be really interesting to revisit next year because the oil and gas industry is not going to recover very quickly, and the cannabis industry continues to add numbers every month. So over the year, we added 10,000 non-agricultural payroll jobs. I'm willing to bet a big chunk of those is in recreational marijuana because we've only been legal in recreational marijuana since January 1st, 2014. Our work week decreased to a little over a half hour per week, from 34.2 hours to 33.6 hours. Our average hourly earnings went from $26.04 to $26.61, a little over a 2% uptick there. We had an economics professor at the University of Colorado review state-level data between 1990 and 2007 across the United States, looking at associated mental health stats with the passage of medical marijuana. And he found a 5% reduction of our total suicide rate in states where medical marijuana was passed. And that breaks down big time for young men. An 11% reduction in the suicides of 20 to 29-year-old men, and a 9% reduction in suicide rates of 30 to 39-year-old men. Those are huge. If you've been affected by that, those are impressive numbers. They concluded that the passage of medical marijuana leads to an improvement in the psychological well-being of young men. And it also found that medical marijuana led to sharp decreases in alcohol-related fatalities and beer sales, right? And self-described alcohol abuse. So as soon as the possibility of medication exists in a society, there seems, at least in America, there's an immediate effect in alcohol use and overuse. And just now, really, just recently in America, we've got policy people starting to talk about the fact that recreational relaxation with marijuana is medicinal itself. You know, there can be nothing more more aggravating to a condition than being in a lot of pain or discomfort. So we need to look at recreational marijuana as having a medical preventative benefit at the very minimum. Let's see, some other strange rates over the last year. Youth under 18 use of marijuana has gone up 2.3% over the last year nationally. This is according to our Center for Disease Control. So this is a federal agency. It would seem to have no interest in reporting good things about marijuana. Whereas the Colorado rate of cannabis use went down 2.8% over the same period. Availability of ganja on school grounds went up 3.1% nationally and down 5% in Colorado. So this is consistent with the idea that once you demystify cannabis, it has less of appeal for kids and people you don't want using it.
For rebels who are kids
Right.
in high school, you know?
Right. And let's see, I'm going to make what might seem unseemly point about the money. But $70 million is what we had hoped to get just in recreational marijuana over a year in taxes. And even if we got that, I just want to put that in perspective. So $70 million sounds really great, and it is great. It is huge. But when you're talking about bloated budgets, for instance, our state's budget is $27 billion. Florida, for example, makes $100 million off fines that they get people with cameras that are mounted on traffic poles and snap a picture of you. So in a police state where they can pick up $100 million in just having cameras on poles catching you driving through, there's really, use that argument where it works with whoever you're talking to, but realize that the powers that be could take that 70 million probably or leave it, because they can make a lot of money by keeping things illegal. So, that said, it's certainly contributed to a lot of jobs in our state. Last thing I would say about is about outreach as you guys go forward and you're talking to the people whose minds you need to change. There is a lot of evidence to support that. It's been really great to hear everybody's presentation today, because I think at the end of the day, people change their minds when they have a personal connection with the person who's relating a story. You know, you can talk about money and stuff like that, but the people who really have their toes dug in can be changed like that. And Abe's got a pretty crazy story about how that happened for him one time. You want to share that real quick?
So I live in a county that has outlawed all dispensaries and retail shops in the county. So I'm a medical caregiver, and I have patients. I have epilepsy patients, cancer patients, chronic pain, insomnia. I mean, the list goes on and on. So there I go, buying my piece of property. I had a good season one year, made some money to put a down payment on a piece of property, bought this nice piece of property up behind a gated community, and one of my styles is to beg for forgiveness instead of ask permission. So I threw up 5 greenhouses on my property without getting permission from the HOA. Well, I was kind of the talk of the town there. Can't even imagine what they were saying. Super Republican, super conservative. Oh my God, what is he doing? Is he growing marijuana up there? He's working for the Mexican mafia. You know what I'm saying? They were trying to burn me at the stake, man. Really. Went to the HOA meeting, presented my case to them. 2 days later, the Colorado Drug Task Force shows up at my property. I got nervous, you know. Just dudes, undercover dudes, look like UFC fighters, come up, tattoos, goatees, big old badges around them. They told me right off the bat that they didn't want to do any paperwork, that they were there to check out my operation and see what was going on. I presented all my permits to them, took them down, gave them a tour of the place. By the time the tour was done, you know, they counted all my plants, made sure everything was legit. One of the task force guys was taking pictures of the view, asking me how much I paid for my property, you know. Anyways, didn't exactly make friends with them, but we were definitely on a professional basis at that point. They left, no paperwork. I was protected by the law, which was a beautiful thing at that point. Figured out who called the cops on me in my community, invited them up for a barbecue the week after. They did. They came up, and my whole mission was to educate them on medical cannabis at that point, because I realized that they were just shooting in the dark. They had been educated one way, and they thought it was the same as crack cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin. So I invited them up, gave them a tour of the greenhouse. First thing they say is, "Wow, it smells really good in here," you know? the senses love cannabis, by the way, you know. Next thing they say is they look at one of these beautiful purple plants that I'm growing, and they say, wow, that's a beautiful plant, you know. And so as I start into, I grew 33 different strains last year, and as I go into the different strains and what they represent to certain medical conditions, they really start to open their eyes up at that point. They literally left the greenhouse kind of scratching their heads saying, you know, I think I've been lied to this whole time. And on a micro basis, a one-by-one basis, I've been able to change the minds of people that are very much so against cannabis, to the point to where now this lady, her name is Dawn, she's a 68-year-old lady in the community. She helps me make my salve now, and her husband grows cannabis. So they have done a complete 180-degree turn just by education.
And they've come out and hung out, stayed with us
Yeah,
at High
yeah.
Country Cannabis Tours.
I actually gave her some salve. She had a frozen shoulder on her, limited movement. I gave her some salve. She went back to the therapist a week later, and she goes, look, doc. And the doc was like, what the hell did you do? And it's all about cannabis, she said. So then she started promoting and being an advocate towards cannabis. So this is kind of a funny story that someone was miseducated in the beginning, and as we educate people, they really start to change their minds, and they're very influential people within the community. You know, that's just one example of us changing minds in Colorado. And here's another thing, as the industry progresses and the recreational industry progresses, you know, we hear about Canada, for example, trying to consolidate wealth with only allowing 12 growing permits. I think that's absolute rubbish. I think that it's big industry trying to get in. The nice part about Colorado is that they allow every citizen to grow cannabis, and I think that that's something that should be taken very seriously, for the fact that, yeah, on a recreational level, it's great to grow some bud in your closet or your basement or your backyard, you know, and have something to smoke. But on a medical tip as well, and there might be some people here today that aren't going to be here tomorrow when we have a medical talk, but you can literally treat your family with cannabis. And when, you know, I'm not sold at all on pharmaceuticals these days, and I know a lot of other people that aren't. So one of the policies that I think that should go forward here is not to restrict the growing of cannabis for Australian citizens. That, I think, is a big point, for the fact that, you know, you can literally grow your own medicine in your backyard. You know, big point right there. The one thing that I would not like to see happen is the consolidation of wealth, big business come in and start to restrict things. That is taking place all over the United States right now. It's not pretty. I think Colorado's done a good job in setting up the infrastructure to give the power back to the people with the cannabis. I know you guys have questions, huh? You guys have some questions for us?
Well done, guys, for doing what you're doing. That was a big leap of faith, considering legislation was so early and it was all in flux. But my question is more about the legalisation, particularly the recreational legalisation, and how that and what effect it had on the price index and organised crime, particularly.
There is no Mexican mafia in Colorado right now. On the cannabis tip, they've switched over to methamphetamines at this point, but they cannot sell Mexican-grown marijuana because our quality is just so good. We've seen the price go way down. The cannabis works like any other commodity with supply and demand. So as you can imagine, at harvest time, for example, prices go way down on things. There's a flood of the market. We've seen prices go from $3,200 an ounce, or excuse me, a pound in 2009, 2010, all the way down to $1,600 a pound and maybe a little bit lower at this point, just because of the supply and demand factor involved. So, yeah, treat it as a commodity, because that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly how it will act, you know. Organized crime, there is no organized crime in Colorado these days through cannabis. It's a beautiful thing, and they actually say that the Mexican mafia is coming up to Colorado to try to buy our high-grade marijuana and bring it back down to Mexico, if you can believe that, man.
Yeah, mate, it's good what you're doing. I've got emphysema. I'm controlling it with medical cannabis. I make it myself. The profit thing that you're doing, I think is fantastic. I don't think that there should be a profit in this thing. If we can grow in our own backyards, it should be in the backyard. It should be no government. I can walk for miles now. I used to walk 100 metres. I can't understand how anyone with emphysema can't get past this stuff. Like, I can walk for miles now, and I can only walk 100 metres. What these guys are doing, we need a structure here in Australia. We need to stick together like these guys are doing and take their platform and start giving it away, because that's what I do, and that's what I should be doing. Anyone that's got emphysema, anyone in their family has got to tell them to start eating this stuff. And you don't have to eat 3 grains of rice a day. I have the size of a grain of rice. In 8 months, I'm walking again. So,
Right on.
There you go, man. There you go. Just another story, man. Unbelievable. And so, yeah, recreational is definitely relevant, but medical is so much more relevant at this point. It's such a great argument on the medical side of things.
And as you protect your right to grow, also protect your right to share herb. That's another thing. That's maybe the difference between access and no safe access for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us, please, 3 things. Firstly, what is the rate at which cannabis is taxed in Colorado? Secondly, what proportion of the revenue generated is reserved for building of schools? And thirdly, have there been any unintended negative consequences of the taxation and regulation of cannabis in Colorado?
Well, recreational's taxed overall between the wholesale and the retail tax at 28%, and counties can charge more. The medical herb is taxed at 2.9%. So as a result, 2% of Coloradans have their medical cards. If they can, they buy it that way. I'd say the unintended consequence of that 28% is a huge black market and a lot of missed dollars that we could be collecting in tax revenue. Not to mention, for a lot of people, it's just not feasible to participate in the recreational market. Because if you looked at a map of Colorado, the entire western side, which is very mountainous and very spacious, has outlawed recreational dispensaries. Oh, yeah. Schools. 40 million, the first 40 million is set aside for schools. So, so we cleared that. 40 million went to schools, and it was about 5% of the education budget.
Yeah.
That's another thing y'all might think about as you're pushing towards this. There's going to be a tax windfall. Should it go to your schools? I don't know. It should go towards something that you will feel that will be a palpable difference in your society, I think.
Renewable energy, for example, producing industrial hemp on a commodity basis. You can use it inside your country, or you can use it outside your country. You can export it. One unintended consequence that's a positive consequence as far as I'm concerned is that I know exactly what I'm ingesting these days. I can walk into a shop and I can specifically say, okay, I'd like that sour diesel, and then, so that sour diesel is sativa, it's very energetic and clear, and then I'd also like this blueberry over here, which is a pure indica, and my quality of cannabis life has gone completely up at this point, just for the fact that I know exactly what I'm ingesting, rather than calling some dude up You know, hey Johnny, can you meet me in the Walmart parking lot? You know, get me a quarter. And then he's like, oh man, there's some purple haze, man. It ain't purple haze, man. You know? So that's one thing that it's done is that it's raised the quality of life within the cannabis user as well. Something that not too many people talk about, but we feel on a day-to-day basis. One last point is this, is that, you know, referring back to Buckminster Fuller, he's one of my heroes. He scientifically proved that there were enough resources on this planet to go around to everyone on this planet and for everyone to live comfortably. Now, I think the same thing pertains to cannabis as well. I think this is a huge industry, and I think that there's enough food on the table to not have to sacrifice morals and ethics within business practices, which we see so much of today. And so we really have a chance right here to form an industry, you know, and this is why I'm talking about it, is that the big industry, they're definitely out there, and they're definitely positioning themselves at this point, but such as the microbrew industry has kind of taken form in the alcohol industry, I would like to promote also kind of a micro market from town to town within the cannabis industry as well. And you know, main point of this is that you're going to make money and you're going to be successful at this. The demand is out there. Now, do we have to sacrifice morals and ethics to do that? No, we don't. So we have the chance right now, as this industry evolves, to stick to those rigid guidelines, moral guidelines at this point, to not turn this into the energy company or the energy industry or the pharmaceutical industry, the GMO industry, that sort of deal. One main point that I wanted to make today, for sure, you know?
Okay, this is the last question. We've got to get onto the panel.
Okay.
First, let me say hemp parade to you guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you about a problem we have in specifically New South Wales, but I'm sure it's in every state, where people who are using cannabis medically, if you drive, you're treated exactly the same, especially if you have an accident, as if you're affected, even though you only have a residual amount of cannabis within your system. How do you deal with that or how's the law dealt with that in Colorado to make the whole system effective medically?
Well, we have a fairly small nanogram limit. I think 5 nanograms. Very small blood marijuana limit. So essentially, if you're a smoker and you were to get tested after an accident, you're going to get a driving under the influence charge. The caveat on that is that your lawyer can argue that your baseline levels are such that that's not a really big deal for you and didn't have a very big influence on your driving ability at that time. So the burden becomes on you as a driver to prove that whatever your marijuana level was in your blood is not significant and not a contributor to your accident.
Have I heard of anyone getting a DUI, driving under the influence of drugs from cannabis in Colorado? No. So, yeah, it's a good thing. You know, I mean, the police are actually working with us. It's kind of different.
Yeah, we've got to cut it off there, guys. It's really interesting, but yeah, we've got another panel.
Yeah, come back and check us out tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We're doing medicine. Huh?
Yeah, thanks so much.